Okay, Pop, do you feel as though what those people did were right? Do you think they made a difference? You think they made a change by doing what they did?
I don't think what they did was right, but they really woke the United States and up about the things that they were doing and had been doing for segregation, to get rid of segregation. People were tired of being treated the way they were. The Civil War may have freed the slaves up, but the blacks were treated worse in the South after the Civil War, and was not enough done to protect those people by the citizens of the United States. All they wanted to do was keep the country together and keep things going and work and get cheap labor.
Mm-hmm.
Blacks at the time made much less money than white made, and they weren't allowed to even get the jobs, the same kind of jobs. They had to take low paying jobs.
Okay. Um, because of everything that was going on, were you afraid of anything happening to any of your kids, any of your children that were here that you weren't home with?
I was very concerned about things happening to my family. Not so much from the people that were doing the rioting, but it was from people who might try to retaliate for what the people that were doing the rioting was doing. I didn't live in an industrial area, and I didn't live in a commercial area. It was strictly residential, and very little stores and whatnot were here. So I didn't worry about people going at individual homes, but I did worry about the safety of my children, and I called from where I was and made sure that they were in the house and told them not to go out, and they obeyed, as they always have done. They obeyed and stayed in the house.
Okay. I think that's all the questions. Uh, Now, how do you feel about today's generation Pop versus then to now?
I feel now that when we came along, we were not educated in our history. We did not have enough history. All we had were about 10 sheets of paper of 10 Negroes that were prominent in the United States. They owned the white establishment only wanted us to see. There were many, many, many people of color that had prominent places in history, but we were kept from our education. We did not have it. We were not given the proper education, and we are not getting the proper education now. Now there are a few people that are still fighting back because white people at the time did all these same crimes and whatnot that blacks are doing now. White people did them. They taught us well. They used guns. They taught us how to use guns. They brought dope into the city. They were the ones. They were the ones that had the power and the money, and they were just as greedy and were just as guilty of what's going on today that went on before. Negroes were kind of frightened into submission, and that is why we're having a lot of problems today. We were not taught our history, and the history that we were taught made it seem like we were animals or something like that. The real animals were our teachers, the white people of the day. They have famous names and whatnot, and they got their money on the backs of slaves. I am not a racist. I try to make peace with everybody that I can, but I have not forgotten the things that's happening now that have happened before and during slavery time. I now read books that were published then and stories that were published then that we were not taught when we went to school. All we were taught was that the Negro could sit on the side of the road and be happy and laugh and whatnot with nothing. When I grew up, I was poor. There were white people that grew up around me. They were just as poor as I was, and some of them poorer. But they had the attitude that they were better and didn't want anything to do with us.
Thank you, Pop Pop. It's been great.